Okay, so I'm going to start these two little masks now. So what I've done is I've made the little balloon, sellotaped the mask to the balloon, then I just put some paper into the Tupperware, nestled that in, and then sellotaped the balloon and the mask. I then cut this little cardboard thing because I'm thinking of trying to do this a bit of flowery headdress. I don't know if this is going to work. I haven't used particularly strong card, and maybe that's a big mistake. Not worried about this bit because the headdress is only going to be up there. And so I've got both of my masks now ready. What I've also done is cut some strips ready, and I've got some slimmer ones ready here. And I've got my water. So I'm going to start now putting the plaster of Paris strips on. So all you need to do is dip them in water and then drip off the excess water. You don't want too much. And then we can start putting this onto our mask. And as you massage it out, the the plaster of Paris starts to smooth out. And so I'm going to continue doing this, and you're going to see this in obviously speeded up, and then see what happens. Just a hint and a tip, if you ever get a delivery with this packing paper in, don't throw it away. I've got rolls of this stuff from deliveries, and it's really handy to keep if you like doing arts and crafts and stuff. It's really handy to keep. So that's going to just stop that from flopping down so much. Probably should have done that before, but I didn't think, but I will do that now on the other mask. And you need to make sure that this is well pushed together. Might just do another little. Okay, so now these are going to be a pair. So the way I'm seeing this sitting on the wall is this person's going to have flowers coming down her face here, and this one's going to have flowers coming down the face here. So I'm going to stop there because the flowers are not going to go all the way around. They'll probably start about here, go around, and on this one they'll go around like that, and they'll sit as a pair on the wall. So I'm going to continue now. I'm going to turn off the video and continue now with the other mask, and I think hopefully, it's a bit thin there, I think hopefully I've got enough on. And what will happen, well, I'll see actually when this is dry as to whether I want to sand it down to a really smooth surface. I kind of had this thing that I was going to sand it down to a really smooth surface, but maybe I'll see if I like the texture that this leaves, because it does leave a textured finish, which, like I say, you can sand down, but I just want to make sure that all this is now thoroughly merged together so that it will dry nice. It does still seem a bit thin in there, but I've got 2 layers on. I just try and already starting to harden, which is good. Okay, I'm going to put that one to one side, and we're going to start the second one. Okay, so there's my two masks ready and drying. A bit spooky now, don't they? So they're my matching masks. I'm going to let these dry now, and we'll be decorating these. The intention is to decorate these. I've done, like I said, because I'm doing sugar skulls, I'm not doing any details on these masking. They're, you know, horns or pustules or rotting skin or whatever. I'm not doing anything like that. These aren't strictly Halloween masks, but they are going to be Day of the Dead masks. And so I want them nice and smooth, and so I can decorate them with wonderful sort of sugar skulls. We'll let those dry. Okay, so with the last bit of the plaster of Paris tape that I had, I taped up the skull so I could see the shape more and also hold it together, because it wasn't a full, it had clips and bits that were sort of wired to each other, if you like, and taped. It kept springing open and apart, and it was very difficult for me to see what was going on. But so I've put this tape on it, the plaster of Paris on it, and you can see I can start seeing the skull really well. So tomorrow, because I've got to leave this now till tomorrow, I'll be able to start putting on the paper mache mould, which means I won't have to put as much on as a first layer, which I think will work much better, because I want to keep certain parts really thin and build up parts thicker, and then be able to sort of do some shaping and carving in a bit of a design in there. This stuff keeps for about, you keep it in an airtight bag, and I'm going to put it in the fridge overnight. It will keep for about 3 weeks. I also decided to do the same with the cats, because it was just making things much easier to deal with the wire form, because the edges of and especially on these ears, were super sharp, and all around here very sharp. So with the last bit that I had left, I covered up the two cats as well. So they're going to be much easier for me to start modelling up tomorrow also. And I've also been able to shape them a little bit so they match a bit better. Obviously they're going to be different, because everything that's handmade is. But hopefully they'll work really well. Okay, so we're back again with the sugar skull masks that I'm going to make, and they're dried now. And I don't know if you can see particularly very well on the camera, but they're very, very textured. You can see all the edges of where the strips are, and I can't work with that. I've also noticed I've got lots of gaps where I haven't pushed it in properly, and some areas are a little bit too thin, and I've even got a hole here which I didn't notice before. I tried doing a bit of an experiment with a bit of sandpaper. This is 120 grit, and some of the areas were sanding quite smooth, but what was happening was, because I haven't got enough on here, certain areas where I've got lots, it's starting to sand down fine, but most of it is actually just bringing up all these bits of cotton. And I tried this on the other mask, and it really was looking horrible. So I went out to the art shop and I got a bag of light plaster of Paris, dirt cheap. Just a kilogram bag was £2.15, dirt cheap. So I mixed that up, and I've put a thick layer onto the mask. And this, once it's dry, again we'll have to just wait for this to dry. I think I'm not going to be able to work on this again till tomorrow probably now. I'll be able to really sand this down, and I'll be able to get some detail back into the eyebrows and the lips and that, because it's quite thick. So I'm just going to show you what I did there. So You only need a tiny amount, and you use 1 part water to 1.5 parts powder. So this is cold water, I'm pouring it out of the kettle, but it's cold water. So that's 1 part water, and then we're going to do 1.5 parts powder. And with the powder, we just sprinkle it into the water, and then let it sit for a minute, then stir it, and then you can use it. So I'm just going to put 1.5 parts of the powder into this little tub so I know what I've got. That's about 1.5, and just sprinkle this just into this small amount of water. I'm not going to worry about the lumps because the lumps actually come out rather well. So you want to try and sprinkle it across the surface of the water, and it will sink down and settle, and you don't stir it at this point. Just giving it a bit of a shake where it's I'm only using a tiny tub here because I don't need a large amount of this stuff. So then I'm just going to leave that for 1 minute. Okay, so this has been sitting for a minute now, and I'm just going to stir it. And you can, you know, recommends pouring it, but that creates one hell of a lot of mess. And depending on what you're doing is whether you're going to pour it or not. Obviously plaster of Paris can be used in lots of ways. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a paintbrush and paint it on. As I'll paint around, and then I'll come back to my beginning point and paint a second layer and a third layer and a fourth layer until all this has gone and gone onto my mask. So I've got a nice thick layer of plaster of Paris, so that when I come to sand it down, because I do want a nice smooth surface, I've decided I don't want any texture at all. That will give me plenty of sanding room. So first off, I'm just going to start painting it on, and as you work round this and start, so I'm just going to start painting this on, and as you start painting layer after layer, this starts thickening up. So it starts to come really quite thick towards the end of the last bit that you paint on. So this is all I'm going to do. Is I'm just going to paint it on and just paint layer after layer until this tub is completely empty. Not bothered about this up a bit because that's just going to be the place to glue the flowers. Okay, so I've fixed where all the bits were too thin, where I had the little hole. Okay. So, going to leave those two to dry now. Okay, so of the Sugar Skull masks, I've now finished one of them, and I've sanded it down. I've used 120 sanding grit to sand it down, and it's come out really nice and smooth. I've made a mistake here where I've sanded too far through, and too far through on this bit here. I've started coming back through to the cotton of the bandage there, but I think I can get away with it. I might either just make another hole so it looks like two nostrils, I'll see. I could always fix that, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be bothered to do that. We'll see. But it's come out really smooth and nice with the sanding. So I don't know if you can see very well on this video, but this is how it came out to start with. Let's see if we can zoom in on this a little bit and see if you can see any better. I don't know if it's picking up on the video, but it's got lots of brush strokes on it from brushing on the plaster of Paris, and it's really very textured, whereas this one, now it's been sanded, is really lovely and smooth, and it's still got a few areas on it, but I didn't want to over sand because I'd over sanded in that area there, and so I can work with this now. I don't know if I'm going to ink, because I want to use ink, and I don't know if I'm going to ink straight onto it or if I should put a layer of gesso first. So I might do a little experiment up here to see if the ink is absorbing too much, and therefore I'm going to need to put some gesso on it first. So I'll probably just do a little experiment on this where the flowers are going to be glued. But yeah, it's working well. Now I've put that extra layer on.